Hello. Happy Mother's Day to everyone, by the way. So, let's give you some political background for you to understand the Portuguese situation that we have been having this week. Uh, well, let's call them the rebels to simplify. The rebels and the communists, two left wing parties, both saying that they are not extreme left wing parties, but well, sometimes acting like that. Let's say that these guys who kept the spirit of demanding impossible things, they took the opportunity of some strikes that Portuguese teacher unions had last month, and they were demanding that they would get back the money that the state froze while we were on a crisis. So like public careers, they have some progress on their earnings, which goes like on a very different way from the privates. If you work on a or on a company, you see that you have your salary, and if you want the salary to be raised, the quality of your work will have to improve too. Well, teachers, which let's say that they have all the rights to demand to earn this progress on their earnings, um, they are forgetting one very important thing. You can demand things when your work is in fact in progress, but our students are they're not having better grades or going out of the schools better students than 10, 20 years ago. The work hasn't really been improving so much as it should. But so let's say that these two political parties, they got together, they made their demands, and they wanted their money back, but from 9 years ago. So we would have to count 9 years and something, and give them all this money because they think that it's their right, which they are demanding only for them, not for the police, not for the firemen, not for the nurses, well, and everyone else who works, at least for the government. Because for the privates, they really couldn't care less. After they victimized themselves for a couple of weeks, um, these two small left wing political parties, who are in fact at the government now, and they are a part of our government. Sometimes they just forget they are a part of it. They got together with a center right wing, which is, let's call them the opposition, which is one of the biggest political parties in Portugal. And they got together with them, which is an amazing thing. Communists, rebels, or whatever you want to call them, with the right wing together to demand the impossible. And this, because it would be common sense, would bring a very big invoice to the state. Serious, like they calculated 800 million euros on the minimum accounts, because then as a snowball it would just grow and keep growing, and because all the other sectors, they have the same rights, so the state would have to be fair to them. So our prime minister, Antonio Costa, which is from the center left wing, the Socialist Party, he tried to appeal for their good common sense to, well, try to negotiate something that goes like on a way that the state could pay, and on a way that it would be fair for everyone, and in a way that we would all recognize that we had some crisis. We had a really fucked up financial crisis a couple of years ago. So if we would be reasonable, we could make something for good for everyone. So he negotiated 2 years and something. There's even days calculated. 2 years, a month, and 10 days, I think. Um, to give them the money back, but according to our financial situation. Like, if the country would be able to give it, that would be cool for everyone. If the country wouldn't have financial potential to pay them. So, well, we all suffered from the same crisis, so we would have really probably just to suck it up and try to make the best for the future. So, when these three political parties got together, they created the situation that it was not only ridiculous as it was really immature. Like, they didn't make any mathematics, they really got all together to make a stand, to say that they would have power and they would run into power as soon as they would destroy the government, which was most likely their own interest. So, what happened that they weren't really counting, because usually politicians are very stuck on into their throne there to get their pol- politician advantages. This guy did something that went really not on what they calculated. He came on TV, explained everything that they did for the last 3 years together, and explained them that what they wanted to approve in the parliament was an impossible thing to pay, and that would bring really a very big calamity to our country in the future. So he just basically really normally told them, if you do this, I am going away. All of them, they came to TV immediately shouting he was lying, and this was a really big group of bullshit lies that he was saying, and making all their populist propaganda. But at the end, today, and that's why I decided to talk to you today, because I knew they wouldn't really take a long time to admit the stupidity. They came into public saying that they will then add a point there. They will add that if Portugal will have the possibility to pay this money in the future, if we would have all our mathematics and financial situation like growing, that we will pay them, to all of them, all this money from this past crisis we had. But only if we will be super stable and a super economy. So, this in resume, just to tell you that we had hundreds of ignorance working at the parliament, and this is my opinion, which I can have the opinion that they are ignorant, that they spent my money and the money of all the Portuguese people who discount for the social security and who pay their taxes, to pay them a salary for them through an entire week. Well, no, let's say through an entire month, to do nothing else out of creating instability and to try to conquer a place at their throne, which is sad. We all know how shitty many politicians are. And what we've seen this week in Portugal, and what people should really think a lot about it for the next elections in October, is that what we have now, even with these small left-wing political parties, was great. Was a in theory was a very good idea, and they really succeeded on putting on in practice. Like, reality was cool. Like, these many political parties could fight for a bit of what they believed in the parliament. And these motherfuckers came now to remind us that in fact what we had in the past was exactly what happened this month, with one difference. Now we do have a prime minister that doesn't really put in risk the financial stability of the country, and if necessary he will go away. Apparently all of them were criticizing him, but they don't think they will make a better job, because they are changing their points and their votes. So I hope next week I can tell you that this was just a soap opera of an entire month where they wasted our time, So let's see what will happen. But for now, this was all the mess that you've read about it. I try to resume the most I could. It's difficult to explain you more accurately in 10 minutes. So, well, I did my best. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're more enlightened, and you already know. If you have any doubt, any opinion that goes against what I told you, just please write us or send us a voice message on WhatsApp, and we will put it live and have it in consideration. Have a nice and happy end of Mother's Day, and I wish you a good start of a week. Have a good night.